Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of our little low poly hand modeling tutorial. Let's look where we left it the last time. We had modeled a single finger and we had the palm of our hand, a kind of a rough shape, ready to go. And we're going to continue that on here. As you see, we're going to position those fingers, attach those to the main palm, attach that thumb, and then we're going to smooth it all out to get our final result. So let me just take this little finger that we have here. We'll just move it down closer to our hand, and we may notice that these are out of scale from each other. I just kind of model these randomly. Might need to scale that finger up. That's okay. Let's first of all fix this palm, make it look a bit more hand-like. I'm just going to move this in closer so we can see a bit easier. You can see here this top flat edge. If I go to my, you have a turbo smooth on it. Let's get rid of that for now. Nope, that's not. I need that. Whoops. Yes, sorry. Polygon mode. Let's pull a few of these up here and just start to make this a little bit more hand shaped. So the top of that hand there doesn't actually remain totally flat. If you look at your own hand, which I do suggest you do while you're modeling this, you'll see there's kind of that curve downwards towards the pinky finger. So I'm going to model this quite quickly just for the sake of the video, but when you guys are modeling your own, do try to look at your own hands just to have something to reference that you can then get all the shapes and curves and grooves right. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these 4 polys here on the thumb to try to create this little hole, and I want to then kind of line these up a bit better. You can see that's not perfect but nearly flat, whereas my own is kind of not flat at all. So if I just select these 4 polys, and then what I will do is try to the best of my ability just select those verts and just eyeball them roughly into a smoother kind of position. Probably not going to be perfect, but if it's a little bit better, that's all I need. Just to give a more circular border that I can then weld the thumb to. So that's not too bad. I'll probably need to fix that a bit more. Up there we can see a wee bit unusual there. You'll just have to sort of circle around different viewpoints and fine tune stuff. There we go, that's pretty good. I can live with that for now. And the hand, that's not too bad. We'll put a bit more detail into it as we go. Maybe a little bit thick on the palm there. Let's just take this guy and this guy. Let's just move those in a wee bit, just to thin that palm out. And just to keep that nice wee natural curve going. Move that wee edge in a wee bit as well. That's not too bad, I can live with that. So let's take this, let's go to top level, let's take our finger. And do you know what, I'm just going to change the colour of both of these just to match them up. Let's go for this navy will do. So I'm going to keep just one wee spare copy of this over here just in case. I'm going to hold shift and go to duplicate it and hit OK. Just leave it as a copy, and then what I can do is rotate it roughly into the angle I want. And then move into position. And then again, just eyeball it, look at your own hand to see if you get the scale right. So there, starting from the pinky, we can see that mine is much too small. I think we're also starting a little bit lower. Let's change the height of this. 0, 0. If I just move my palm of my hand just up slightly to match the other one, there we go. And we'll just rotate this finger a little more. That'll do. So notice the pose we want this to be in. Kind of open but relaxed hand. The fingers aren't perfectly straight. They're not curled too much. Just a nice relaxed, slightly curved hand. This is a nice neutral pose that we would be able to animate or model on later. Let's just position this over here. You can see we've got 4 polys on top here, 1 for each finger. We can split these a bit further just to weld the fingers on. So this finger is a little bit small. Let's just get our scale tool. I'm just going to scale it up in all 3 axes. So 1 axis, 2 axes be the triangle at the bottom, and then if we do all 3 angles or 3 axes, we get that kind of nice pyramid shape. So just blow that up a little bit. Again, look at your hand, look at the size of that pinky finger and see how you're right for scale. And in fact, I think this one is actually too big. I'm trying to match that one, really I should be looking at later on when I've matched them. So let's just move this down along. And we can match them better. So this guy may be too big for a pinky. But that's okay, we can work on that. What we'll do is we'll scale this a couple of times. Sorry, not scale it, we will duplicate it a couple of times and then we'll rotate it and scale it into the 4 positions. Oops, wrong one. Select you. So there we are, 4 fingers, and we're just going to use that rotate tool to slide into position. So this might take you a couple of minutes to get it perfect. I'm going to pause the video here and we'll come back just when I've repositioned these, just to get an effect similar to what we have here. Again, look at your own hand and get that nice neutral pose and scale them and compare to the size of your own fingers. So the middle finger should be the biggest, then the index and ring fingers will be a little bit smaller, and the pinky will be even smaller again. So I'll pause now and we'll come back very, very shortly. Okay, and we are back. You can see here I've just rotated these and positioned them sort of where I think they should go. One last thing we want to do is we need a thumb. So we're just going to take another copy of the finger and hold shift and make a duplicate of that. And this is going to be a little bit different because you can see from the shape that we have here, we kind of already have half of the thumb. So we don't need quite so much. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of these bottom 3 rows of polygons. I'm just going to select that all the way around and delete those. And then this little short area is what I can attach to the thumb. Now the thumb is going to be a little bit squatter, wider than the fingers, so I'm just going to scale this up a little bit. Let me see. Let me just move that pivot point. You can see it's still down at the base there. Let me see. Go to my hierarchy tab, effect pivot only. Then I'm just going to center it to the object. Turn off that effect pivot only. I want to scale this, but we can see we're kind of scaling at an angle here. I'd rather scale it along the axis of the thumb itself. So to do that, we are going to change this up here where it says view. We're going to change this to local, and all being well, that should align that axis a bit better to the original cylinder that we made this from. So we're just going to widen that out a wee bit, maybe tiniest wee bit shallower, not by very, very much, just to give us that nice thumb shape. There we go, and then we'll set this axis system back to view, just so it's aligned with the XYZ of world space. And let's now once again just move that into position where the thumb should be. Kind of hard to see each different axis here. I think we're roughly in place. Yep, there we are. And rotate. Our thumb might still be a bit too big, but we can make more adjustments as we go. There we are, not too bad. You can see, I think that thumb is far too long. And it's a lot thinner than our little hole we have for it, but again we can adjust that. Let's let me see, I think that's maybe too long still. I might even get rid of a bit more. I might get rid of these two lines down here. We can add in more detail. Why are you not going all the way around? There we go. We can add in more of that detail later on. Is that even still too big? Should we go even shorter? Yeah, looking at my reference from over here, we're actually getting rid of this one as well. Oops. So we'll get rid of that. And we'll scale this up just a little bit more to fit it into that hole. Just looking through, that doesn't look too bad. Maybe a little chunky in the thumb, but we can live with it. I'm happy with that. Position these now just as best you can. Doesn't need to be exactly perfect just yet. That'll do, that's okay. And now what I will do is I'll select my main hand, make sure I'm in top level. I'm just going to attach those fingers to that. Just select the attach tool here over the modifier panel and attach each finger. And you'll see it's properly attached because we'll start to see the wireframe appear. Let's just save our file because we've been working for about 10 minutes. Remember that 10-minute save rule. Deactivate attach mode. And now let's play with this a little bit more and get it closer to our final result. So here on this one, we are just going to delete these two polygons at the top. We don't want to delete all 4 of these just yet. We're just going to delete these 2. Do I want to add any more geometry here? No more geometry yet, but we are going to start just playing with these shapes a little bit. Let's soften this hard edge just with our vertex mode. Let's take this, this, and this, raise them up just a little bit. Maybe that's the middle one. Just a tiny bit higher, keep a bit of curve going there. Happy enough with that. Let's just compare it back to our reference, see have I forgotten anything. Maybe I've got more of an upwards angle, which might animate. You can see we've got kind of a downward curve here. Just going to move a couple of these up a little bit, give that more of an upwards curve. You can see here that's a very straight line. Straight lines don't really exist in nature, so we'll try and get nicer curves where we can. That's not bad. And what we will also do is you will see how many more vertical lines we have compared to this one. If you look at our fingers here, we made a cylinder with 8 segments or 8 sides, but our finger holes only have 4. So what we need to do now is go to our modeling. We want to add in extra geometry here so that we have 8 edges to match up with 8 edges. So a lot of these are going to be quite easy. We're just going to go swift loop and put one down the middle here, one down the middle here, one here, one at the side, and one at the back. Kind of dividing each of these polys into 4. I'll put one at the back here. Now we do need to split this one. The index finger and the thumb is where we're going to get a bit of difficulty because we need to add the extra geometry here, but if you look how that's flowing down, it's going to flow into the thumb. The thumb already has 8 holes, so we need to add more here. So we can't use the swift loop tool. We can't quickly cut these in. We have to manually cut where we want that line. So let's deactivate swift loop and let's look at our reference here. Let's look at what we have, and you can see a little bit of what we're going to go for. We're going to add 2 lines in here and cut all the way down, but we're not going to go all the way down to the end. We're going to sort of loop it back round on itself, and this is a really, really great way of, if you have, say, 2 loops to connect, adding extra geometry to one without affecting the geometry of the other. Round the back, that's okay. It just continues on down. So just this front and side, what we're going to do is we are going to take this edge, and this edge, and we could just hit the connect button to put a line down the middle there. Alternatively, we can use our cut tool, and we just be careful you select the right edge. We click in the middle here, cut down to this poly, or that edge, sorry, and then cut down that edge. This is where it gets tricky, and this is where actually the cut tool can work quite well. We can just go right into the middle of this polygon and put a cut. Oh, did that put where I wanted it? Yes, it did. That's okay, actually. So you see we put a cut in the middle and it's connected to this edge. I didn't think it would do that. I thought I might have had to manually do that. Then we've got to go into the middle here. Ah, it didn't, in fact. Okay. Then we've got to come into the middle once more. It looks like there's a line here, but there's actually not, it turns out. I'm going to connect it back to this vertex. And what I'll do is I'll just hit escape and deselect everything. And we can see we've got a cut in there. We've just put a little loop down. So that connect tool that we used is good for going if we have 2 edges opposite each other and connecting them. But the cut tool is good for going right into the middle of a polygon. Now you can see we've got these 2 weird shapes here. All we need to do now is go to vertex mode, number 1 on your keyboard, select this vertex, and we will just connect it to that corner, and this one can connect to this corner. They're kind of overlapping a wee bit, but you can see what I'm doing here. And that way we have nice 4-sided polygons everywhere. 4 sides, 4 sides, 4 sides. Everything has 4. But now up here we have 4 edges whilst still maintaining 2 edges down here. This is a really, really great wee technique for manipulating your polys when you need to have more on one side than the other. And we'll probably use this tip again, adding a bit more detail down here. But for now I'm happy with that. What we can start to do now is, do you want to do it yet? Let's just, I'll not get ahead of myself. We'll follow along with the example we made earlier just to make sure I do everything correctly. Let's go top level here. Let's save our file. And we'll just move you along our little conveyor belt. Let's look at our next example. What have we done here? So this is still editable poly. Yes, we've added just a little bit more detail to that palm just to kind of soften everything out. And I think we've started to play a little bit more with our thicknesses. Yes, and get these fingers looking a little bit more correct before we attach them. Okay. So let's do that first of all. Let's look at these fingers. And you can see our model still has a very chunky top surface here. So let's take some of these and pull them in. Let's try and soften that hand shape a little bit. Let's go to vertex mode. Let's pull this one in and this one. And you can see how we're kind of trying to shape those knuckles around the fingers. And in fact, even these ones are probably a bit too far away, so let's pull them in as well. And kind of even them out a wee bit. They might not be perfectly evenly spaced just right now. We aren't really doing the same to the front just yet, but we can start to add a little bit of curve down to the back of the hand. We're also going to add a little bit more geometry in here. So we're just going to add one more swift loop in here. And looking at the little extra, that wasn't too bad. There's just a little bit of unevenness. Ignore this hand here. As always, we're going to do a little bit of fine tuning. I just want to fix that little line there, just make that a bit more of a smooth curve. That'll do fine. I'm happy enough with that. Even lift this one up. And we have another line running down. Let me just select this and highlight it. You'll see we have another line running through here down this thick edge. So we are going to add we're not going to add a swift loop here because again that'll go right up to the end and add more geometry than we want. We're going to follow it through here and down the way and out. So let's first of all, I will add a wee swift loop here to get a little bit more flex on that thumb joint, and then turn off swift loop. I am going to get my cut tool again, and I'm going to cut from here just right across. And look at how the icon changes. We know that we're going to hit the middle of our edge whenever that cursor changes. I'm just thinking I didn't actually have to manually. Whoops, this is the problem having so many things on screen. Go to right click, just go hide on select, just hide all of those. Make it easier just to see what we're working on. Go back to that cut tool, select that edge again, and just come right across. Always keeping an eye on that cursor, making sure it's that little kind of horizontal, or that little wider cursor to show that we're in the right place. And we're going to come around here. So we haven't come into that thumb at all, either front or back. Let me just right click to deactivate that and deselect everything so we can see what we've got. So we've got a horizontal line running right across and right across here, but then stopping. So the other method I could have used there, all the way around here, if we just select a number of edges, we're going to select these bottom ones. And we're just going to hit connect on that. So either the cut tool or the connect tool will give you a decent result. And I'll just cut in, same as we've done for up this top edge, this little square at about 93, we're going to recreate that shape. So again, cut tool, let's go from here, slap bang in the middle, down to the bottom, hit escape just to stop cutting, or sorry, hit right click your mouse to stop cutting, and then we'll select the middle again and connect you up here, hit right click, deselect, there we are, that's that nice edge. Let's roll around the back and do that exact same process. Get our cut tool, we'll cut from an edge here, slap bang in the middle, down to the bottom, right click just to deactivate or cut mode, so we can start fresh from the middle up to the top. There we go. That looks pretty damn good to me. We are a little bit close to the geometry there on top, so let's just balance this out. Let's just take this guy, let's just move a few of these back a wee bit further just to even out that distance a little. Probably just when I added my swift loop it was too close to the front. There we go. I think I'm fairly happy with that. Let's unhide all. Yeah, we haven't really touched the front yet. Yes, okay. Happy with that. Let's just file and save. And let's move on to our next one. The only other difference actually I'm looking, let's do a little bit of detail on this wrist. Let's give this a little bit more love down here. You can see we've got a little bit more detail. We've also fixed those smoothing groups in the bottom. Making that just a little bit more natural compared to the shape of the hand. Okay, let's select you, and let's add in 2 swift loops here. And if we look what's actually happening with the shape of the wrist, again, look at your own hand, and you'll see what happens. The palm kind of juts out. For God's sake, let me see. Hide on selected again. The palm juts out a little bit more forward than the wrist, and likewise on the back, the wrist is that little bit further back from the back of the hand. So really, the wrist itself is just kind of offset a little bit. Let's just try and get that little offset ourselves. Once we've added those swift loops in, we're just going to polygon mode, select these bottom 2 lines of polys, and we're just going to shift this a little bit that way. Not very much, just a little bit, and then we can sort of patch that up later on and smooth that out. How does that look? Yes, okay. So I think one of the things we're seeing is our hand is still looking a bit chunky here. So before we start attaching these fingers, let's just play and push and pull a couple of wee bits and just smooth this all out. So we are going to use the freeform tools here for this. We've got push and pull, relax and soften, and these work quite well. So the best way to use these is to hover over, and you'll see how the controls work. They work a little bit differently to our regular modeling tools. So like the push and pull, we can left click to basically make it bulge out, but we'll alt left click, it'll push it in. So with that push and pull, now just in the basic settings, if I start to pull that, much too big an effect, much too powerful. We want a lot more subtle than that, so Control-Z to undo. Over here we have the size of that brush, which we can pull way down, and we have the strength, so you can see that little line extending out is how powerful it is. Let's pull the strength down a bit to about 0.3, 0.4, and now that will allow us just to, that's still very powerful. How does that seem to be stronger than before? Okay, let's put that down to 0.1. Okay, something is going very funny with this. If I come on the size was bigger. Give me 1 second, guys. This little tool seems to be not working. Let me see. Wonder is it also have a glitch. My mouse cursor is playing up on me. Don't you just love it when things go wrong? It won't let me set that offset tool. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pause this video, see if I can get this to totally work properly. Bear with me. Okay, I had a little play around with it there. So if we use this push and pull, you'll see we're getting glitches appearing. I never figured out this glitch. If we start to pull here, okay, now it's working. Okay, don't you just love when this happens? It's working perfectly now. Previously what was happening, it was giving me very big, massive pushes and pulls there. What seemed to fix it was I right-clicked my model, I converted it to an editable poly. It got rid of my turbo smooth, etc., but that allowed me to use push and pull, and then this was working correctly. So we were getting those very, very big, horrible looking expansions there that we didn't want. But strangely, what then happened was, before I restarted the video, I undid everything. So I'm just hitting Control-Z back to when I have those Edit Poly Turbo Smooth, and somehow doing that. So converting it to Editable Poly and then undoing it. I have no idea why that worked, but it's that little glitch, which I've never seen before. You probably won't even experience it. So there's 2 minutes gone, explaining something you don't even need to worry about. Isn't that typical? But anyway, so we've got this push and pull tool. We can, like it says, push and pull. Left click to pull. And I'm just doing very light little clicks of my mouse here. And you'll see just the effect it has. It just slightly shifts those polygons without us having to manually select every one. And what we can do is just start to shape this hand. So hold the Alt key, kind of push it in, and just left click to pull it out. So we're just going to rotate around our model and push and pull where we think it can maybe be thinned out a little. And one of the things to look for is, say here, down the side, just round out some of those edges a little if they're still a bit flat. So where we added those extra lines, they're still very flat. So let's just round out some of these forms a little bit. And what you probably find happen is it all starts to look a little bit crinkly, a little bit messy. That's okay, because what we can do is hold the Shift key, and that will actually just smooth everything out for us. We'll just average everything out. So we'll push and pull, and then we'll hold the Shift key and we'll average it. So you see the likes of where those loops aren't really nice loops. Just going to average those out and soften them for us a little bit. So left click to pull, Alt click to push, Shift click to soften. So it's really good where we get sort of these areas that can look quite harsh, just to soften them all out. Even already that's looking a little bit better. So I'm just going to push that palm in a little bit, give it a bit more roundness. Maybe soften that hard edge a wee bit more. Maybe not that much though. And the thing with using these tools, always be rotating constantly around, because it's hard to tell just from one angle if you're doing something correct or not. So looking at the front, that looks fine, but looking from the side, we've got this horrible little lump here. So we'll just hold Shift and we'll flatten that in. There we go. I've just realized this video has now ran on to 30 minutes, so I'm going to stop this video and we'll do a part 3 just so it doesn't go on forever. So let's see, let's check our progress on hide all. Yeah, we're looking not too bad. We've got a couple of steps still to go, but the bulk of the hard work I think is done here. Let's save our file, and I will see you for part 3.